Hey everyone, and welcome back to the hashtag I Made My Mark podcast. It's Dustin again, and today we are joined with a very special guest, the one and only student body president, Aaliyah McLean. So, Aaliyah, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
I'm excited you're here too and willing to do it. All right, so Aaliyah, to get us started, tell us just a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, my name is Aaliyah. I'm a senior media arts and design major. I concentrate in journalism, and I minor in political communication and sociology. And I guess something about me, you've already kind of said it, but I'm the current student body president, actually. My term is ending really soon, which is kind of sad, but I've been able to really serve students this year. I'm also involved in the multicultural Greek life here. So I'm a part of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. I was initiated in spring 2018. And I also have served as the president and vice president of our chapter. So that's really been an interesting journey. And then I also had the opportunity with 11 amazing people my sophomore year to reactivate an organization on campus called Women of Color. And so that has truly been like something a part of my JMU journey that I've been able to really see. And then I also was a 2019 orientation peer advisor. And so I think that was just like one of the biggest highlights of my career at JMU, with just like teaching me my values and really serving students first. So yeah, it's a little bit about me.
That's awesome, and I'll prod you a little bit because I know you do a little more on campus. So, what do you do like as your job on campus?
My job, in terms of like student body president or like actually like working.
Actually working.
Okay. So I also work for the Community Service Learning Office as an alternative weekend break coordinator. So I help coordinate different weekend breaks with my co-coordinator, and we just help try to send students out to different communities to really serve them, but to most importantly learn about these like mutually beneficial relationships, about learning from communities and showing humility and really trying to solve these social issues that we have in our world and bring them back to Harrisonburg so we can serve our community even better. So I'm doing that. And I've done other things on campus. Like I've worked in alumni relations my sophomore year. And so I love that, working with Women for Madison and really learning about the philanthropy of JMU and why that really matters. And so I've had those opportunities as well. So it's been awesome. And definitely CSL is something that I say I learned so much of my servant leadership from, because I guess it taught me how to actually serve others first and like dive into those why questions and leading with your values and knowing that your purpose is important in your life, and you have to kind of know that before you really serve others.
Yeah, and I know this just because I know you and I've known you for since the beginning of our JMU journey. But you do so many things where it's almost like you sometimes forget about everything that you've been a part of. Like I remember doing ring committee with you and like you being in charge of that. And Aaliyah is very humble, so she didn't mention it, but she was also the class of 2020's president for 2 years after just being one of the, what do you even call it, executive count? What student? What were we on? Like, what is that called? Class
The
council.
class.
Yeah. Me and Aaliyah were on class council freshman year, but she has done so much for our class, so it's just super exciting for her to be on this podcast and just like reflect about her time here because she's done a lot.
You are so funny. You literally have me blushing because I think like you're so right. I think I've done so many things, but I guess like it's not even that I forget about it. It's I just think like it's just a part of my life where I truly just like want to serve others, and and I really just like wanna. I think the biggest thing of me at JMU, and I think what made this role this year being student body president so I think resourceful, is the fact that I've been so involved in different areas of campus. I feel like I finally know how it all works, and I'm able to really see the different sides. I've even been involved like with the Madison Center for civic engagement, and knowing even like those structural things about engagement through community, civic, international, because I studied abroad. And I just think all of those components have really just added to my Madison experience, but most importantly, so I could tell others about it, and so that they can really find their place and kind of find like what makes them spark at JMU and like making their mark through those things. And so it's so funny that you say that, because I definitely have done things that I'd be like, oh my gosh, I did do that. And it's not that I forgot about it, but truly it's like a place in my life where I really try to serve others first. And so funny. You're funny.
Nope, but you have done a lot, and I think you're right. I don't think it's that you forgot about it. I just think that it's like a part of this like serving mentality that you have. Like everything that you've done has. I feel like JMU for you is just like one big like memory. And there are like so many things. It's almost like growing up, how you may have forgotten that this happened, but like you will remember it like 10 years down the road. Like that'll be something that you will always do. Like, oh my God, like sophomore year, I did this, or I was president of Women of Color. Like all of these
Yeah.
things just like make you who you are.
No, you're so right. And I think it's funny because like I think it's like the little things that like spark that memory. Like yesterday I was just doing homework and I forgot what it was. I think I was listening to Spotify and a song came on and it just reminded me of like the most randomest moment. But it was something that like meant so much to me. And it's just so weird that like these little moments just like add up to like this big memory and I don't know, just I kinda always think about it all the time. So you're so right.
Yeah. So kind of moving into one of our first questions. You've already hit on it a little bit, but what does JMU mean to you?
I think JMU means to me, you know how like we put on the class rings, this opening doors, right? This like walking into your Madison experience. And I think for me, even like when we designed those class rings, like you just sparked that memory designing class rings for our class. I think Madison just means to me of this experience of just opportunities. And like you don't even know, like truly like coming into JMU, like I had no idea like who I would be in 4 years, you know, like I came from a really kind of not difficult past, but you know, I've done a lot of things in my life where I never thought I would end up at JMU. You know, I didn't think this was in my path. And so I think just like looking back and just seeing all the opportunities that people have kind of given me, provided me, and like shown me has just like been so remarkable to think about. So just like this experience, and I just like love that saying that we like always say, that Madison experience, and like opening those doors figuratively and literally like holding these doors open for other people so now they can experience them and see it. And so I definitely will never forget like the memories I've had here, just because I truly like finally understand who I am as a person and I'm able to like be authentically me and like seeing that. Because truthfully before that, I didn't know who I was. And you know, I lived my life, you know, working for others all the time, or I lived my life always trying to be in this survival mode. I never got the chance to really say like, well, who is Aaliyah without having to do these things? Who is Aaliyah just for fun? And so I think that has definitely been something that JMU has meant to me.
No, 100%. And I agree with you in the fact, and a lot of our involvements have overlapped. And then, of course, we have like a lot of involvements that have kind of like differentiated us a little bit. But I feel like me and you have both truly figured out who we are and who we want to be because of JMU. And that's just like so cool to see because knowing you our first year on campus and just like seeing the passion that you had and just how funny you were to be around and just the joy that you brought and being able to look at us now like sitting down for like this kind of like wrap up interview of like our college experiences, like it's so cool to see how much we've both grown.
You know, I actually just sparked a memory in my head when we were at the SJ retreat and we were on the ground and we had just met and we were taking pictures together and you had your curly hair. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you have curly hair, I have curly hair. We're meant to be like, we're meant to be friends, da da da. And I think like, then even reflecting back at homecoming, being on the Madison World Report and like Madison Majesties together, I think like it's just like so humbling. Like, oh my gosh, like this all happened in 4 years. Just like two random people just got connected by this school, and this school just founded us like through the spirit, and like really want to serve them and really want to like find out who we are. So I definitely agree because I truthfully like did not imagine like being here now to this day. But I'm so appreciative for it, and I don't know, it's kind of making me kind of emotional. Like that's just so wild to think about how much has changed in 4 years.
It is so crazy to think about. So I'll kind of ask you a follow up to this one. If you were to describe JMU in one word, what would that one word be?
Resiliency. That's like the first word that comes to my head because I think at JMU, like I've had so many setbacks though too. Like I know when I first got to JMU, like I wanted to transfer so bad. Like you know that I was like, I'm going to BCU. I'm going to start this application. I'm gone. And then also, you know, my first semester, I actually had gotten like a 2.2. So I'm like, I don't even belong here. Like I'm not getting the grades. Everyone's talking about all the grades they're getting dean's list, president's list, and for me, I'm like literally, I am not meant to be here. You know, I'm already like one of the few minority students here. Like, why am I here? And I think it just reminded me of resiliency and like those opportunities that I had then I could create. So then that's when I had met with my friends and was like, we got to do something, y'all. let's make an organization to uplift other minority women, because who else is like feeling the way I'm feeling, because I felt so defeated. Like, who else is feeling like us, y'all? And so we reactivated women of color. And so honestly, I think that word resiliency just sums up JMU, is that no matter what, you can come back, or no matter what, you will find a way. Don't put yourself down, and don't think you're going through it alone, because so many times we don't talk about like the struggles we're going through. So you truthfully think like, I'm the only person that is struggling, and you're actually not. And so I think that just taught me, talk about your struggles, because people are, like, thankfully respect that, and like they're gonna look for you for that vulnerability. You'll never know what like you change in their lives too.
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that first semester GPA, because my first semester, well, I feel like both of us coming into college, like I can't speak for you, but I know that like in high school, like grades were easy for me. Like it was easy to just coast and like get that good GPA and then come to college. And then after that first semester of like us having to be like independent, I think my GPA after the first semester was a 2.7, which is completely different. And it's not like my second semester was much better. Like consistently,
Right.
most semesters, like my GPA has always been an uphill battle, and I think it's because I care so much about people and less about like the school, which is weird to say because we're at college, like we're paying for college. Um, but if I would have known other people were like struggling with it, like I was, like you said, no one talks about it. Like when we finish the semester, you don't text your friends and you're like, "Hey, like how are your grades? Like what'd you finish with?" Like it's not like the same thing that we do in high school where we're like, "Oh, did you get an A in this class?" Because the closest friends that you have probably aren't taking the same classes as you.
Right. I think that's so true. And I think I definitely remember us like one time saying like, it's not even about the grades. And it really isn't. Like, I like still stand by that. Like, as I've gotten, advanced in my major and these things like that, I think now I find value in my classes because I'm so interested in them, and I wanna like with political communication, like I wanna learn more. How can we communicate this to other communities and things like that? But I truly like do believe it's about the people. Like, you leave college and you don't have any of these relationships built. It's like, then why were you here? Because like you truthfully, like, you don't, yes, you went through the classes. I will never go against that. You do learn in the academics. And I do agree, but I think that people help you spark that interest in your academics. They spark, getting to know people. For me, it was like, dang, how do you think the way you think? Or why do you think, like, why do you think that way? So, it fed me into sociology, and it fed me into like wanting to learn those concepts. But it all went back to the people, the relationships with your professors, the relationships with these mentors, these people, and like administrators. And so I just like truly agree. It is about the grades. Don't come to college, not care about school, but don't be defined by your grades, because truthfully, if you leave here with no friendships and no people, like, who really, like, what have you really done to grow that in yourself? And so I don't know, my biggest thing, I think so as well.
No, I completely agree. And I think you said it perfectly in saying that it's about the learning and not necessarily about that grade. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, the classes that I've taken the most out of are the classes that have had like the real life discussions, like gotten real. Like in psychology, my favorite classes have been those that talk about like diversity and discrimination and privilege. Like those are things that I learned so much about that if I wasn't a psych major, if I didn't like actually care about what I was learning, like it would mean
Yeah.
nothing to me. And now, like this class that I took, I want to say sophomore year, had sparked a passion in me. So it's about just like really developing a passion for learning and not developing a passion for receiving that A and like memorizing all of this stuff. You should always strive to learn and make yourself a better person, and not necessarily. And the grades will reflect that. I'm not saying to only strive for like C's get degrees, but like the grades will follow if you have a passion for what you're learning.
No, that is so, you just said it best. Yeah, it's the learning that all that matters, not the grades that define you. And I think, I truly believe, if you're passionate about it, the grade will just come then. It's kind of like, even like in life, people want to pick jobs based on like their money and how much they make, but don't even worry about that. I understand you might want to be well off, but don't worry about it. If you're passionate about it, the money will come. The things you need in your life will come, because you're really living like with your passion, your purpose. And I think even like now when I write papers, like I remember like when I started taking my political science classes, and they were having me write papers. And I'm like, why am I doing this? Like 14, 15 pages. But I look back now and I could just zoom through those papers because I was so passionate about the things I was writing about. And I wanted to find more things so I could tell others about it. So it just comes, it's about the learning, and it will come with it what you need.
I agree. All right. So, what is the biggest myth that you think people have about JMU, and what is the reality on campus?
All right. I might get some discourse from this answer, but I think one of the biggest myths for me and like where I came from was that you had to be like hate to be like this, sorry everyone, but like this like white identity, preppy, upper class, you had to dress a certain way, look a certain way. And for me coming in, like I was stressed. I literally remember like this is no stereotypes, nothing, and this is my judgment as well, but I was like, dang, I'm gonna have to buy a pair of like Sperry's, and I need to go what is that store, I'm like Lily Pulitz, like whatever. I'm just like, I have to be like that to like fit in. Like that is true, like that is like honestly how I felt, and that is not like me at all. I do not like, that's not my style, and that's okay. But because I came in like with this idea of like this ideal JMU student, I truthfully thought, dang, I have to look like them. I have to straighten my hair because, no one's going to look at me if I don't. And so my biggest method is not like that. I think Jamie was literally about like being yourself. And, if that does come through like your exterior identity or even your interior identity, it's not about what you look, how you talk. It's not anything about that. And I think for me, for so long, I was like trying to mask my identity because I wanted to fit in. So I'm trying to talk different. So people like want to, talk to me. I'm trying to like not use my slang because I'm like, if I use my slang, they might not look at me. They might not want to talk to me. Biggest myth, do not do that. Be yourself and those will come. Like, I'll never forget SJ Retreat. Like, me, typically loud, laughing, making jokes, just trying to be funny. I'm trying to like low-key not do that there because I'm like, they're not going to like me. I'm not going to fit in. But then when I found you, I was like, this is my guy. Like, we are just bonding. We don't care. We're just doing it up because you're wearing those white Converse with your little Nike socks, I think. And literally, I was just like, it's not about this ideal person I think JMU is. And I learned JMU is all the different people that come in with it. And though I think we could still have more diversity on campus, we talk about that all the time. I did start to value a different type of diversity of we don't have to be from the same background to understand where we want to go in life. And for so long, I kind of thought, well, you didn't grow up the way I grew up. You do not know what it is like to be in my shoes. And though they may not know what it's like, it doesn't mean they can't learn or that we can't still work together. And I think it just taught me so much of just like not believing that myth, but knowing that we can be different, but still try to come to a common goal and serve everyone else. And so that's definitely the biggest myth I had that I kind of unlearned.
Yeah, no, and you said it perfectly because when I was coming to college too, I like you almost think about like the movies of like those colleges where everyone, if you ever think about it, like everyone in those like preppy college movies are white and they have the Sperry's and they have the bean boots and
Yes.
the flannels, like everything like that. And so when I got to college, I was like, okay, do I have to be like this? And you know me, like freshman year, I would wear like tie dye almost every single day and like my crazy socks. So like, of course, like as I matured, like my style has like come down a little bit, but I'm still that kid who prefers wearing the Converse and everything like that. And so you saying that, like just being your authentic self from the moment you get to campus, like that is when you'll meet and make the best friendships. Like if you're not your authentic self coming to college, and I know it's scary, and being vulnerable is scary, and like showing your true self will always be scary. But if you're not gonna put yourself out there, you can't expect others to put themselves out there and match your vulnerability and your authenticity.
So true. And it's so easy though to get so caught up in like this influence of like, oh my gosh, that girl over there has like all the friends. Like I remember for me, like I wasn't, I for me I've always felt like this. Like I feel like everyone was just getting like in groups of friends and I wasn't, So I'm looking at myself like something's wrong with me. Like why am I not getting there? So I'm trying to change myself so I can fit in with these groups. And I never liked that. I never wanted that. And I didn't want that type of group. And so I think I had to learn like it will come to me when it's ready. Still be me, still be confident in who I am. But I mean, that is truly a struggle, but we're not open about those struggles. So no one knows them. And, that's my biggest thing in college was like, I just felt like I wasn't good enough for certain people and certain groups. And I had to learn, like, Aaliyah, what is yours will come to you at your timing. And I just like say all the time, like you may think you're the only one thinking that, but others are too. And we're all trying to mask ourselves through these identities that really aren't us. But truthfully, that is not what we're supposed to be doing. Be yourself and your time will come. And I will say orientation taught me that. And, I'm like, dang, it took my senior year to learn that. But I am so grateful I learned that because orientation had some people from different majors, backgrounds, hometowns, diversity, ethnicities, religions. But it literally taught us all that it's not about that. It's about who you are in your heart and how do you really bond with other people. And orientation, we make jokes. Everyone knows. You knew I hated orientation when I first got there. And I think Sarah Frame, because Sarah Frame literally was like, Aaliyah, you are meant to be here for a reason. And I'm like, girl, no, I'm not. And literally, my mindset so changed that summer because now I do believe I was there for a reason. And, and they were not my competition. We were not competing. We are there to, be there with each other and build off of each other. So, biggest lesson, you're so right.
No, and I think it's funny that you say that because I think that's when like I realized like the Dustin that I'm supposed to be and the Dustin that I want to be, if that makes sense. Like I thought like I was supposed to act this way and I thought that I had to behave in this way and that's just not who I was. Like until I was an OPA and went through the whole orientation training, I was like always afraid of like people finding out that I'm gay before they like knew who I was. Like I was afraid of that little part of me dominating what people would think of me. And orientation is what truly showed me like, so what? Like the people who are supposed to be in your life and the people who care about you the most won't care about any of that. Like they'll care about you as a person and they'll forget about everything else. And I know we both have the same experience where it was like through orientation that we figured this out, but I don't want like the listeners to think that like you have to be an OPA to get to this point. Like in all reality, you just have to take the time to sit down and be like, who am I and who do I want to be? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think the biggest thing that like really questioned us was like, why are you doing this? Like, and truthfully, you do not have to be. And I think what I learned is like now when I meet people and they'll be like, oh, like, what do you do? And I'll be like, oh, Malia, I like to do this. And they're like, no, what are you in? And I'm like, no, now it's not about what I'm in. It's not about these titles or these organizations. It is literally like, who are you and why do you do it? And I think a lot of times you're so right. People think like, well, dang, maybe I should go be an OPA so I can go learn that. Or maybe I should go do this and be in a sorority so I can learn that. But truthfully, it is not about those orgs that really make who you are. It's just knowing your why and then why are you there? And what are you adding to that group? And so that is, I think, the biggest myth of college. Get involved, but don't let that involvement define you. Because for so long it defined me and that was the problem. And so don't just question that before you really do so.
Yeah, I 100% agree. All right, moving forward just a little bit. So we both know the time we're living in is super unprecedented and like just crazy to really think about that this has never really happened in the past. So how are you coping with everything?
Oh my gosh. I think for me, I have never really wanted to admit this to anybody. And so this is actually, I think the first time I'm really telling someone like publicly. But I suffer a lot. I'm not gonna say suffer because I'm not suffering through it, but I live a lot with like mental health challenges. And I really never knew that until this year. And I started going to therapy. And I would always be like, I'm not the one to go to therapy, what are these things? But no, like literally I think for me, like this time has like shown so much in me that I really had to like work on and really dive deeper in. Because like when this first happened, I was having panic attacks all the time, and to the point where I had to go to the doctor because like I like literally was like stressing. I like literally could not breathe, and so I went to the doctor, whatever, and we talked, and talked to my therapist about it too. But I really just think this has taught me so much of things that I just became so busy in my senior year. I became so busy serving others. I became so busy living in these titles instead of living for me. And I think this taught me a lot of stuff that I had to deal with. So, in the beginning, I was like not, was really kind of low. And I tell people like it's going to be up and downs, like, and I think at first, me, I'm like going on Instagram and you got people working out 2 to 3 times a day. You got people, making it at home offices and reading books all day, every day. For me, I couldn't even get out the bed. Like, I literally could not get out the bed. I'm like, could not even make it, could not do it. And so I definitely tell people that don't worry about any of that. Your time will come. And, like, knowing that this time is a time for you to dive into your heart and see, like, what have you been avoiding? What have you been missing? And what can you do now? And it's okay. Like, give yourself some grace. Every day is not going to be an uphill battle. But knowing you're working on yourself and you're being cognizant to that. So, like, one day, I might, knock out my to-do list. So good. But then another day, I might watch TV all day, and I'm telling myself that is okay to just do that. And it is okay to give myself grace. And so definitely this time has been so hard, but I needed it. And I'm like, I am convinced that it was meant for me to like look at myself and dive deeper because, I was struggling this year and never told anybody. And so now I'm like really able to really dive into that and kind of understand my heart a little better.
Yeah, and I think what you're getting at is something that a lot of people have probably been dealing with. And so when others are like realizing that this is like a super tough time and everything like that, it's important to just note that like it's just like a change of mindset. And I know that's like a lot easier said than done, but what it sounds like is you've just like changed your mindset and you're like, okay, this isn't the best thing for this isn't the ideal scenario of what our senior year would look like. But hey, you know what? I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna change how I'm thinking about it. I'm gonna work on me and I'm gonna still give my all to my positions. And for me, I think my change of mindset came because this will probably be the last time. Like I'm home in Virginia Beach, and I think you're still in Harrisonburg. Are you?
Yes, I'm still in Harrisonburg.
But what I think about now is that this will probably be the last time that I get to hang out with my parents, like for this long ever. Like I'm going to grad school and everything like that, and I'm super excited about it. But after that, like it's my career, and who knows where my career will bring me. So this is the last time I can spend an extended time with my family. So that's super exciting, and it sounds like you have kind of just like taken this time and just like really thought about like what you can be the most productive doing.
Yeah, it's like you're totally it's like a shift in your mindset and like, but it's easier said than done because this time is also showing a lot of privilege in our communities, and the fact that we're able to really like the fact that we can I can telework, right, and I'm still getting paid to do things online. But I think for students in higher education, we were talking about this a lot. Is this is showing truthfully, like even professors, how do you handle this? Like this is showing a time of privilege. Like this, when you come to college, you kind of get this equity, right? And you feel like you're all kind of on the same playing field. There's still a lot of inequalities in college. We all know that, but at least you're all in one area together, and you can get different support systems, all in like one space. But it's like now when you're back at home, like you don't know what someone's home life is like. You don't know what they're going through. You don't know what they're thinking like. And so for me, being in Harrisburg, it's honestly just easier for me and my family to really for me to be able to focus here and really live still here. But like, what if students that have to go home to take care of their families, have to do these things? And so it's like, even for me, I'm worrying about mom all day and night. She's working two jobs throughout all this, type 1 diabetic, over 50. And I'm like, what is she doing? Is she okay? What can I do to support her? And it's just like looking at it in a shifted mindset, but also what can you do to give your privilege to other people? So how can you still be there for them? And even like the way we're talking like on Facebook and all these things, Twitter, it's like I had to learn to get off social media because you have some people I'm able to work out 6 times a day, and it's like looking at me like I should be doing that. But then I had to remember my life is not theirs, and I cannot compare myself to them. And so, yeah, you're so right. And I think at first it was so hard for me because I'm trying to serve everyone. But I'm like, Aaliyah, you cannot serve everyone when you're not serving yourself. So at first, like, we were writing statements and releasing pledges, and I was helping out with like webinars. But like, I was so overwhelmed, and I would not tell anyone about it. So I'm on the webinar smiling, and then literally afterwards, I'm like crying myself in myself in my room. And I'm like, Aaliyah, be open. I cannot do this. I need a break too. I'm human. So acknowledging all of that, shifting your mindset, just you're so right. Do all of those things.
Yeah, it's definitely tough, and I don't want to make it seem like it's okay because for a lot of seniors, like they're still struggling. So it's definitely not the best, and it's definitely not how the class of 2020 wanted to go out. But it's not like we can do anything about it now. So it's just kind of like taking it as it comes.
Yeah, and I think for us, like this will define our class is how we handle it and how will we tell others about our struggles in this time. And I think even for JMU, how will they also serve us and like help us kind of understand that maybe this will help us realize JMU is not about the place, but it's about the spirit. And so definitely all of those things. This is definitely a time of trials and tribulations, though.
I agree. I agree. All right. So if you could give younger you a piece of advice earlier on in your college career, what would it be and why?
Oh my gosh. I think I would tell my younger self is not to give up, but like don't chase a title. So a lot of my life, I have just been kind of conditioned to think like in order for me to succeed, I have to, find I have to have these accomplishments and things behind me. And I think a lot of it is because like my mom was a single parent, so I saw my mom growing up always working, and I'm like I want to leave that off. And so for me, it was like I was working 40 hours in high school, like while going to high school. So I came to college thinking like I had to always work to kind of redeem myself. And so a lot of times when I like meet people, I would be like, "Oh, hi, I'm Aaliyah, and this is my title. I'm this and this, so I feel like get that, so they could think I'm credible." And I think I would tell my younger self, it's like, Aaliyah, it is not about that. It's not about the role you're in, but who you are and like the heart you give others. And I definitely think a lot of my time at JMU I've spent chasing titles in a way and like checking off this like list. And I think I had to remind myself that like no, take a step back. Like Sarah Frame had told me, like, Aaliyah, be present in this moment. And it's not about this checkbox we have. And I was like, oh my gosh, she knew. She definitely knew. And it really made me remind myself that you're right. I'm always trying to run to a new meeting, run to a new thing, just to please people. But you can't please everybody, and you can't really advocate for people if you're not taking care of yourself. And so I would tell myself to take a break and really like dive deeper in my heart a little bit.
Yeah, and I think what you just mentioned is something that a lot of people struggle with, and even I struggled with it. And I'll be honest, I probably struggled with it up until my senior year. Like,
Yes.
title chasing is just something that, like, we're, I think we kind of grow up thinking that the people with the title are the people to look up to. And no one will give you the time of day, or no one will really look up to you as a leader unless you have that title. And I think that a lot of the time, like, especially in college, like, taking on these different leadership positions, in my earlier years, like freshman and sophomore year was probably the pinnacle of my like leadership title involvement, and it just burnt me out so much because I was like, this is me, this is who I want to be. I want to be known to be the person who does like 20 bajillion things. And senior year, I just had to really stop and like take a breath and be like, okay, what do I want? Like, what do I want out of my college experience? What do I want to look back on my senior year and say? And so that's when I really was just like, okay, do I need to be a part of this organization anymore? Like, I love their mission, but is it for me? And that's when I dropped two organizations, and that's when I joined like different things, because I was just like, is this really benefiting me as a person? Like, is it getting, I'm not necessarily so much worried about the clout that I was getting from the title anymore, instead of like knowing that this is who I want to be and this is how I want to grow. And so I joined different things, and people were like, oh, why'd you do that? Like, were you just bored? And it was like, no, like, I realized what was important to me. And it took me so long to realize that. And I'll be honest, even up until Madison Rural Court and when we were doing Madison Majesties, I was like, okay, I've wanted this since freshman year. Like, I've wanted to be on this court, and I've wanted to potentially like get the crown. Like, I was just like, this is so cool, and this is what I've been hoping for. And then the moment I won, it was almost like, it doesn't really matter that I won. It's more important of like, I realized that it was more important that I was up there with people who I wanted to surround myself with. And these people are people who have truly impacted my JMU career. And all these people who voted for me are people who I've hopefully made an impact on. Like, it doesn't matter that like I was Mr. Madison or anything like that. Like, I realized that like that gets me nowhere. Like, in the grand scheme of things, it's not something that I put on my resume, and it's not something that I can really like tell employers like, hey, you should hire me because I was Mr. Madison. No, it's more like JMU has made this impact on me, and it took me so long to realize just the impact that it had on me. You know?
No, that is so good. And I don't think I ever told you this. Like, I think this is like you just kind of hit like something in my heart. It's like, you texted me, like you were like, Aaliyah, I think I'm gonna drop these organizations. And I was like, why would you do that? Like, no, you're not. You wanted to be in this org since we got here, you really wanted that. And you were like, no, Leah, like I think I want to do that. And I think for me it was so liberating because I was like, I wish I had the courage he did to just like drop that. And like you just were able to identify this in your life. And then even when you're like, okay, I'm going to drop this. So you dropped it. And then you're like, okay, I want to join again. Then you joined it again. And you were like, no, I'm going to drop it because I think like, this is really not for me. And I think for me, I was just like, I wish I had that courage to be like, this is not serving who I really am anymore. And this is not meeting like the purpose I had in life anymore. And then when you started just like playing volleyball with everyone, but then you started making your own group out of it. And I'm like, this man just like took away all these titles and just started doing things that he loved. And then he started making community of just things he loved to do. And I remember like looking in the back of Grace Street, and I'm like, there he goes. There goes Dustin playing volleyball. And I'm just like, I just always admired you for that because like you just really were able to like sit there and say, how is this serving me? And like, I think it's okay if it's run its course. Now it's time for this. It's time for something new. And you're right. It's about who you impacted. Like, no one's going to remember your position. They're going to remember how you made them feel. And so you, yeah, definitely, I think you showed me so much courage and liberation like in that moment.
All right. Last question. The hardest question.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think is the most important mark you have made on campus, and what do you think your legacy will be?
Oh my gosh. Okay, this is actually kind of funny because I think I struggle with this a lot because I'm like, have I been chasing the wrong things here? Like, have I really, left a mark on people? But I do think I have made a mark in the minority community, especially, like letting people know that you can stand up in rooms that no one is might not relate to you and they might not look like you, but you can still prove yourself without having to kind of trying to convince them, show them who you are. And I think for me, like that was the hardest thing. Like when I ran for student body president, I'm like, I'm not going to get this. Like, look at the demographics of the school, but winning 51 to 49%, I believe that was like showing me that Aaliyah, it is not about like what you think you are or like the things that you're trying to be. It is really about how did you make them feel and, who did you connect with? And I remember even on election day, I would just walk up to people and I'm like, I don't care who you vote for. I just want you to vote. Then I said, like, just like vote and like show the democracy. And then, like, I think I just hope for minority communities and people and those that just identify as minority or in any way. Just remember that it is not about how you can convince that person. Just be you, and it will be given to you, and it will show you. And so I do think I've hopefully made my mark in that way, and like my legacy of just never give up. You got this. Like I would have never imagined myself, my friends from home. Like, I came to college not even just for myself. Like, I came here for my family and my friends that could never go to college, that literally could not afford to, but also had obstacles in life that prohibited them to go. And so, even like I say all the time, like, I cannot believe that that's what you're doing at school. And I'm like, I can't believe it either. But truthfully, I'm just being myself. And I hope they remember that never, change who you are. Because, like, me, I like to wear hoops all the time too. Like when I got this role, I'm like, I can't wear hoops anymore. I love my big hoops. I'm like, they're gonna look at me differently. It is not about that. Be you, dress how you want, and literally, just remember that. And so I think, in ways, I hope that people remember me for that and that legacy. Because I definitely would just miss seeing just other people and like trying to push them to be meet their full potential here.
Yeah, and it's funny that you mention like almost being a champion for like diversity and everything like that, and just like making people feel like accepted and loved. Because I don't even think you remember this, but SGA retreat our freshman year, we had an outside speaker come in, and I don't. It was probably Deep Impact that came in and spoke about diversity and just like accepting diversity and recognizing diversity and helping to like make it like a comfortable environment. And you and Alicia Campos both spoke during a little discussion or a dialogue, and that is probably the first time I recognized how important diversity was just in general. And well, because I come from like a high school where diversity is like already a thing. Like it's not like all those kids are white or like all the kids are like rich. Like for the most part, it was diverse in general. So coming to a school that is a PWI and actually having to face the fact that first time that like look around, like we are not that diverse as an institution when it comes to like race and when it comes to like economic status. So just like hearing that, oh, like completely opened my eyes and made me want to pursue it further. And I will say that that meeting and hearing you speak and hearing your just like genuine experience after what a month and a half of being at JMU, like that completely like changed my whole outlook, and that is probably what made me pursue my passion of diversity.
Okay, you have got to stop. Oh my
Like
gosh.
you you have been such an advocate and such an ally for so many people, and I don't even think you recognize that. And I just want you to realize the impact that you've had on so many people, including me on this campus.
Oh my gosh. Well, I thank you. And like actually really my heart is like on fire, like you saying that because I definitely remember that moment. I remember Alicia after that coming up to me talking to me about like, she's always really wanted to talk about this and it's kind of been so hard for her. Because that day was like such an emotional day, like in SGA, like that was so deep for everyone. And I really do appreciate that because I think for so long, I think I just was trying to prove myself. Because you kind of know my story a little bit. Like, I really did overcome a lot of my life. Like, I cannot really believe I'm supposed to have a bachelor's degree, and like for me, it was so hard because I think a lot of people here kind of already had that in their story. They're already going to go to college. But for me, it's like, wow, I really came to college. And I just like now want to open up those doors for other people. Like, I want other people who really believe they cannot be here, the ones that literally are working day and night for not only themselves but their family. Like I want them to know like this can be possible for you too. And so it really just makes me warm that you say that, because I think that is like really what I'm passionate about. And I just hope that other people can like really open those doors, and that we can change JMU one day. So when you look at the demographics, it isn't what you just see, but it really is diverse and different communities and these statuses. And so you're so right. But I appreciate it.
All right. So we're almost out of time, but do you have any last minute like pieces of advice, nuggets of wisdom that you can give to our listeners?
Yes, nuggets of wisdom. I definitely think, just like what, if anything you take out of all of this, if you only listen to this like for 5 minutes and you scroll to the very end, you hear this one part, like just remember to not like identify yourself through titles and positions, but the things you are in your heart. So like attract to people that you truly think have a good heart. And if you want to like, honestly, like for me, like I was always so scared to go to people and say like, I am just interested in who you are. Can I meet with you? Can I learn more about you? And I think, Dustin, like you inspired me so much because you always were trying to meet with people. I think my biggest regret is I got so busy and like trying to accomplish things. And, I am, doing these meetings for a purpose, but I got so caught up in trying to serve others that I forgot to just do these one-on-ones with people, meet with people, get to know their stories and their hearts. And so honestly, my biggest thing is like hold yourself accountable to meeting like with one person. Maybe start off with one person a month, then one person a week, one person every 2 weeks. But like really hold yourself accountable to getting out your bubble and meeting others that aren't like you, because you'll never know. I heard a quote the other day, and it was like, you can never hate somebody once you know their story. And I agree with that. Like I agree, like you can have two opposite opinions about everything, but when you get to know that person's story and you know why they operate the way they do, it changes your heart towards them. Like you get empathy towards them, and you're like, I understand you. And so I think my biggest takeaway is don't just hang out with people that you think look like you, that you want to look like, or that you're influenced by. Hang out with people that you truthfully love their energy, love the way they live. And for so long, I was so ashamed of that. And don't be ashamed, because I'm like, I don't look like them, I don't talk like them, but I'm so, interested in who they are. But don't be ashamed by that. Just go ahead and just do it. Meet with them, tell them, I just want to, know more about you, and just see where that takes you, honestly.
Yeah, no, that's a great piece of advice. And I think a lot of people do struggle with that. And people are always afraid, like they come into college either knowing a lot of people or like knowing no one. And so it's that hard like in between of just like being extroverted enough and outgoing enough to being like, hey, I really like you, or I see you all the time on campus and like you always have a smile on your face. Like, can we just get coffee sometime? Or like, can we go to a dining hall together? And I feel like that is where I made most of my friends. Like it wasn't through the organizations that I was a part of. It was through seeing people repeatedly on campus and recognizing their face and just like wanting to get to know them. And it's funny that you say this because I'm almost a little upset that I didn't do it more often. Like I wish I went up to people more often and was like, hey, I see you all the time. I would love it if I knew more than your face. Like I would love it if I knew your name. Even if it's like a 5-minute conversation, like, hey, where are you from? What's your major? Like, what do you do on the weekends? Like, stuff like that. Like, that is what JMU is all about. And I love that you gave that piece of advice.
Thank you. I definitely agree. It's not about, like, you're not going to remember these meetings. You're going to remember the people and how they make you feel. So definitely try to, do more of that.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is all the time we have. I really hope y'all stuck with us. This was a little lengthier podcast, but it's chock full of everything that you need to hear. So, Aaliyah, thank you so much for being on the show.
First, thank you. Thank you for having me. I love this. I think this is awesome.
Me too. Hopefully people get a lot out of it, as I know they will. But that's all we have for this one. So we'll see you next time, and thanks for listening.
Leave something to remember.